So I didn't start playing Monster Hunter until shortly after World had launched on the PS4. Since then, I've played Iceborne, Rise, Sunbreak, and Generations Ultimate. I can say that playing these games has been an absolute blast, and it's easily become my favorite game franchise. At this point, I just can't wait for Capcom to give us some information on Monster Hunter 6 and how awesome it's probably going to be, but until then we can only speculate on what they're going to give us. With that in mind, here are some things that I'm hoping will come to Monster Hunter 6, and some things that I kind of hope had their time to shine, but those things can stay in the past. The first thing that I want Capcom to do with the next Monster Hunter is give us a more interesting story. I know this typically isn't Monster Hunter's strong suit, but having a nice compelling story alongside your combat would be super nice and appreciated. They've been doing better in the last couple games, but in the older titles, you really had to read the in-game quest descriptions or text dialogues between characters to really know exactly what's going on. My next hope for Monster Hunter 6 is a combat pace somewhere between Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise. The slower combat can feel nice and methodical, but fast-paced really gets your blood flowing and makes you really feel like you're in the fight. Some people still think that World is a little bit slow, because, after you've played Rise, it kind of does feel slow. But, slow it down just a little bit from Rise, and I think that's a good medium point there. Next thing when it comes to combat is switch skills. Being able to modify the way we play, either mid-hunt or, between hunts is nice. So for instance, like your greatsword, it's super slow, but then in Rise you had the option to have more of a combo-y feel, and, depending on the monster, it may move a little faster, but you really like this particular weapon, so just being able to change it would be kind of cool. Next thing when it comes to combat, new weapon. We've had medium bowgun, we've had, the magnet spike, we've had the playable palico in the past, so, it's not too far-fetched that Capcom will give us the new weapon, but, it would be really cool if they did. Since we're on the topic of combat, next thing I'm going to talk about is the slinger pod stuff. So like your flash pods, your dung pods, having more control over where they go instead of just throwing it right in front of the character. It felt really cool to just kind of be able to throw it right in front of the monster's face, right in the air, and knock it out of the air. It was really cool. Next thing is the monster mounting system, similar to like we had in World. It felt really immersive. You were able to, dodge around on the monster, go to the head, to the tail, poke at it until eventually it was either knocked down or it knocked you down. It felt really cool, and yeah, I liked it. Next thing I'm going to talk about is semi-open world. I'm talking more like your Monster Hunter World where, there were the different biomes, but the biomes themselves had different loading screens. Most games, I feel, don't pull off open world all that great just because there's not enough to really do in between the areas. You have your main areas, but everything in between is just kind of dead space. Monster Hunter may be able to pull it off if they decide to, pack everything full of endemic life that's capturable, and you can, put those inside your personal house. But if they can't, manage to make that work, I would much rather just kind of continue with what we had in World. Another thing to kind of go along with that semi-open world is, hunting the monsters. You're actually having to pick up their tracks and everything else. I thought that was a really cool mechanic. It made it feel much more like you were hunting the monster down until you finally figured out how the monster behaves and everything else. And then at that point you would be able to find them on the map. I think it's a little more immersive than just, oh, you've seen the monster once, cool, here it is on your map. Switching away from combat a little bit, let's talk about the online functionality. Being able to join lobbies of more than 4 people, say like we had in World of the 16-player lobbies would be cool. Obviously make it optional to have to join them and whatnot, and still make them be able to be privated so that you can play with a particular set group of friends. It was always cool to join a lobby of 15 other players looking to do the same activity as me. You know, at that point, you never really had to worry about finding a group for something. Also, it would be cool, like in Rise, that you don't have to view the cutscene to, join the quest that maybe your friend is doing.
And if viewing the cutscene was the main reason why it was like that in World, maybe they could just make it to where you just unlock the cutscene whenever you complete the quest.
For blood and fiery violence, and something to combust. Raining down destruction, pandemonium galore. Friend or foe irrelevant, it hungers for hot war.
And now we're going to move on to our hub area. I'm thinking a couple different little things, such as, a more interactive Argosy. I'm not exactly sure how Capcom could make that work, but, just having a user interface is kind of bland. Be kind of cool if there was just a little more to it. And then after that, you got your farm or tree mechanic. A lot of people really love the farm. I never really played much with the farm, but the tree was actually very interesting because as you progressed in the story, you could actually see things changing inside town. Things got bigger. It kind of made you feel like you were really doing something. Next thing we're going to talk about is gearing. First thing I want to talk about is decorations versus charms. I like the way that Rise did this, where you could craft your decorations, and the charms were more of an RNG factor. It's much easier to make a build if you have your decorations set right. And I'm thinking, somewhere like we had in World with the attack decoration. This was a very difficult thing to get. Some people never seeing it until, super late after they've grinded hundreds of hours. It's not exactly a fun feeling. And then the last thing is late game gear augmentations. I think it would be cool to continue like we had in World and Rise at the end of the rank that you're currently on, whether it be high rank or master rank. Just being able to augment your gear a little bit more. It gives you more of a reason to grind, gives you a feeling of progress on your character. So yeah, I think that would be cool for them to bring back. And for the last thing that I really want Monster Hunter to bring back with Monster Hunter 6, it's Rathalos. I mean, he is the flagship of all flagships. A lot of people are tired of seeing him, but in all honesty, it's going to be 20 years in 2024 of Monster Hunter. It would be really cool to just bring back the original flagship, even if he's not the flagship of the game. Just he is Monster Hunter.
When His Highness sets his eyes on you, it's time to say goodbye.
And now we're going to get into some things that I kind of wish don't come back in Monster Hunter 6. The first thing being the Wirebug, or a Wirebug type mechanic. It was really cool, and to this day is still really cool in Monster Hunter Rise, but having that much mobility causes developers to have to work on a way for the monsters to be more mobile as well. This causes them to move around more in the hunts, and attack more frequently, and combo and everything else. Just slow down combat a little bit, get rid of the Wirebug mechanic. It was really fun, but I think it's played its time. Next thing I don't want to see make a return is something similar to the Clutch Claw. It was cool at first, but then after you kind of got used to it a little bit, it really started feeling like it was a mandatory mechanic if you were playing in multiplayer. If you didn't end up weakening the monster by clutching on, you really felt like you were gimping the entire group's DPS, and that doesn't really feel all that great. Obviously in single player you could ignore the Clutch Claw, but at that point you're still killing the monster slower than you would if you had Clutch Clawed. The next thing I don't want to see make a return in Monster Hunter 6 is super specific fight rules. I'm talking Elatrion from Monster Hunter World. The fight was amazing with Elatrion. However, having to create a very specific gear set and weapon in order to fight the monster just doesn't feel all that great. It would be cool, to have elements play more of a role, but having that specific of a rule set for a monster doesn't feel all that great.
If you keep an eye on those horns, you should be able to figure out which elements are effective.
And last but certainly not least, my least favorite mechanic in Monster Hunter Rise, Wyvern Riding. Super cool the first couple times you experience it, but after the first couple times that novelty wears off and you really realize that it doesn't belong in Monster Hunter. You're sitting there fighting the monster, everything's going good, then somebody gets a mount and they go fight another monster with it. Now, keep in mind, this other monster is all the way across the map, so they literally take the monster from one section of the map all the way to another the whole time you're sitting there chasing the monster down. As you can tell, Monster Hunter's done a lot of great things in the past 20 years, with not much standing out that's especially bad. Let's all hope that Capcom makes Monster Hunter 6 into an amazing experience that we get to play for years to come. And if there's anything that you want to come back, or anything in particular that you would like to stay in the past, please be sure to let me know in the comments below. With all that being said, be sure to like and subscribe if you like our content. Hit that bell icon to receive future notifications when we post more. And yeah, until next time, everybody have a fantastic day.